Italian Amani track. There goes your theme music right there.
Now y'all gonna make fun
Now
of
I
me.
can't unsee it.
Yeah, I'll be
Podcast is
good.
ruined. Anyway, screw that.
Let's go. I'm ready.
We'll do this thing with.
One hand tied behind my back.
Ow!
Track is ready.
Track is ready.
Welcome to the Roti. Look, can't even. No, we're not doing that.
You hit record. You pressed
Yeah,
record.
it's fine.
Yes,
We're
you
fine.
did.
We're
Just
recording.
just,
Definitely recording.
it's early. Welcome to the Roti and Poutine podcast. I am MC Armani Rain. I am joined once again by the valiant MC, the T.R.A.C. And we are here with a very, very special guest, one of the most prolific drum and bass producers of our time, very good friend, and just all around a nice guy, the Mr. John B. How are you today, sir?
John.
Good
I'm okay.
morning.
I'm feeling all right today.
All right. Yeah.
I just-
Other than struggle mornings, but yeah, we here.
Oof.
It's okay for me because it's 3 p.m. I've already been up. I've had my lunch.
Oh
I've had the
man.
second coffee of the day. I'm like, come on, all
I
right.
had a coffee and drinking water. That's- I didn't mean to promote that.
That looks
right?
like special water.
What was that? That looked like
Don't worry
alcohol
about it. No,
water.
It looked like Guinness stout water.
Yeah, I know.
I can't put the
Guinness.
the brand back on the TV. I would like to add. Last week we picked up my children from Virginia. They normally go up for the summer to their grandmother's for a month and some change. We call it Grandma's Summer Camp. She's a teacher. They come back smarter. It's great. They go fishing and all that, yada, yada, yada. So we picked them up. So because we're doing this in the morning, I didn't want to do this in the normal room that we're in because I want them to have their fare. So excuse the new location, but I thought it was extremely hilarious that I did not realize until just now, wrong side, that this
Yeah.
situation
It's
going on up here is very gangster. So
yeah.
What is going on up there?
that's
I can't-
we
Hold
got
up.
that plush crown from the Crayon
Oh,
Factory.
there we go.
And that's my daughter's favorite plush penguin. So we
Special day.
Serious
I love
drum bass
Oh,
business there.
yeah, all that hood
Back
trash I
up.
normally be talking is
Yeah.
out the window today. I can't do nothing I can say tough today.
Got the plushie
Like, you want to
in the
talk
window.
trash? I'll punch you dead in your mouth with
You don't
that
know.
in the background. It's just not. We're gonna keep it moving. How's your quarantine been, Mr. B?
That's all right, really. Like, despite appearances, I'm kind of introverted anyway, and my day to day hasn't changed that much.
Mm-hmm.
This is my studio, which is in my house.
Very nice.
Behind me is where I make my tunes, and then where I'm facing now is some more computers and where I do all my like day to day fucking Instagrammy shit and all that crap.
Right.
So like I'm doing the same thing. I just feel a bit more scared about going outside, basically. Like as soon as COVID became a thing here, my wife and I decided what were our priorities, and they're basically don't catch it, and make sure we've got enough supplies.
Right.
So I made it a priority to. Over here in the UK, we have very good like online grocery delivery
Same.
systems. Like I don't mean through like Deliveroo or Uber Eatsy stuff. I mean most of the main chains have for years had a very good online ordering system and delivery vans that come and everything. But and I've always done that for our main sort of weekly shop anyway. But when COVID happened, everyone was registering and like you couldn't get any delivery slots, you couldn't book anything in. So I quickly learned how to like game the system, learned when they released the new daily slots and stuff. And just basically I've been able to get grocery stuff once a week delivered and
Nice.
going out for runs, getting fresh air, going for walks and runs and stuff.
It's
I've had to
essential.
go to the post office to post merch and stuff that people buy from my web store. And apart from that, I've just been staying at home and spent a lot of time learning about streaming and trying to find some ways to adapt and try to earn a bit of money when I've got no gigs. I've certainly been really busy and just like working all day, every day, super late, feeling like I still haven't achieved anything at the end of it, but like at least I'm busy.
Yeah. It's funny.
I hope-
We have the Instacart too, so we get a lot of our stuff delivered as well. Where are you exactly in the UK? Are you in a
So
off?
I live in a town called Maidenhead, which is directly west out of London.
Right.
It's pretty close to Heathrow Airport. Like I can, on a good day, if traffic's clear, I could leave my house and arrive at Heathrow Airport in 15 minutes.
Nice.
It's far enough away to like not hear all the noise and shit,
Right.
but it's close enough to be useful when you've got gigs to fly to. That's where I am. Like, it's an all right town. Not a lot going on here, but it suits me. And my parents still live in this town as well, like just a few minutes away.
Nice.
So it's good that I've been around to be able to see them and help them with stuff. So
Awesome. Well, that's cool. Your studio's very clean. I like that.
Very crisp.
I'm a little jealous.
Neon blue.
It's
I've been
got-
getting a bit OCD with it.
it's like, I think everyone's studio's extra clean.
If the camera was a bit lower,
Mine is not.
and you could see like under the desk, I've got to the point where there's so many cables, they can't be. I mean, they're as tidy as they can be, like in channels and shit, but they're fucking everywhere. And I'm still like, my Amazon account, like throughout COVID, especially doing streaming and all the extra webcams and cameras and stand adapters, like the amount of shit I've had to buy just to like have an elevated stream that no one fucking cares about anyway. If I was standing in a kitchen in my fucking socks with nothing going on in the background,
I've seen that.
most people do it like that, and it's totally fine. That's totally fine. And like, I've gone to all this extra effort. It doesn't fucking matter. No one gives a shit. Like, but at least I've got lots of extra USB cables now and more tripods, and I've learned to do more things. But
Like we all built green screens and all this craziness and like dumped down. It was just like our mentality of production. We're just like, we got to add all this stuff. And then someone just throws up a deck in their kitchen and you're just like, all right.
And they have like mad followers.
Oh man, I'm following this one dude and on Instagram, and he has been doing stuff in his bathroom. No, like legit. Like he's
ironically, or sort of
his name is his Instagram name is Kink303, and he does like techno, and you know, like, but like, yeah,
Right.
like, and you know,
So much
like
was said.
analog and stuff like. But it's fun. It's like kind of housey techno. But yeah, all in his bathroom, and it's like, there you go. That's it right there. The disposable nature of our dance music.
Disposable. That's a pretty.
You flush it down. No,
Yeah.
well, you know, it's a
Yeah,
commentary
make
on
the tune,
people's
just
listening
flush it
habits,
straight
not
down
the
the
actual
toilet
music.
anyway.
MJ sent his love. He will be in the chat, obviously. So MJ sends his
MJ.
love. He was very excited.
We're birthday buddies, aren't we? I think
Is that
he's
what
like
it is?
Yeah, he's like July the 14th,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
July
exactly
the 12th. Yeah.
Something like that. It was
send him
right
my
around the same time. Yeah, it was. He was very excited to point out that you shouted him out in the DJ Mag one time. He saved the article. He's
Good.
Yeah.
Always got love for MJ. Yeah,
he sends us super love, man.
So I wanna bring this back because the sort of the evolution of the John B story and drum and bass is, I kind of watched from the beginning. It was kind of fascinating to see, because you obviously are not the typical or stereotypical drum and bass producer on the surface. So take us back to when you were getting your tunes signed for the first time. How did you like? It was SS that kind of found you first, right?
Yeah, I mean, my first couple of things came out through a record that a label from my hometown called Shoebox Records, and there was a little record store in my town that was kind of upstairs from a skate shop, and there's a guy called Adrian who worked there, who worked under the name SDR, and they ran a label called Shoebox, SDR, and Subsonic. And I used to, like, when I was sort of 16, 17, every day when I was walking home from school, I'd stop off in this little record store and take in my cassette demos and go, like, Adrian, can you listen to my tune, please? And like, it was always like weird, stupid, fast techno, acid, you know, stuff. I didn't really know what was what, and I just knew I liked stuff. So he would, bless him, you know, he'd sit there and I'd be like, wait for this bit, it's really good. And he's like, yeah, mate, okay. I mean, you know, he was quite a big jungle DJ at the time and everything. And like, he gave me, you know, his patience, got a lot of respect for that. And they actually released my first couple of tunes which kind of gave me the confidence to send out proper demo tapes. I only sent stuff out to about like 15 labels at the time, like Heads, Moving Shadow. I can't remember now, like a bunch of stuff, but obviously SS, and he was the one that really picked me up and was really, really, really
Shout out S.
supportive for like so long. You know, released my first album, like brought me on my first proper DJ gigs. It was him putting me on, and first time playing in America, it was him taking me on the World of Drum and Bass tour, like on a few of them, and just I still think about this from time to time. I was thinking about it again, like literally yesterday. I was like, fucking hell, man, I owe so much to SS, and like I didn't really appreciate it at the time. Like I was just so, you know, everyone sort of has this when you're focused on what you're trying to do in your career and what you want to be doing. At the time, I wasn't so. I mean, I was grateful and I looked up to him and everything, but I don't know. I don't feel like at the time I ever really said, mate, thanks. This is so cool. Thanks for bringing me to DP or whatever. And
yeah, I think
I
it's,
haven't seen him in person for a while, and I really just want to give him a hug and be like, fucking hell, mate. Like, sorry, I was a bit of a self-absorbed twat when I was younger, and I just was running around doing my thing. Like, you are appreciated.
We had him on a couple of weeks ago, and he specifically said how angry he was with you about that.
I've seen him plenty of times. He was at Sun and Bass, I think. Last time was it Sun and Bass he was there?
2 years ago. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah. And we're in a minibus and things like that. I had a bit of a chat.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's always, whenever you cross paths with people, you're always like, everyone's busy and even at festivals and all that, you're like, oh, I've got to go, but I'll catch you later. And then when you come back, they're talking to someone else and
a whole bunch of madness.
But yeah, first world problems, drum and bass problems.
I miss that. I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's like it was the time people don't realize, like, as much as we're all friends too, that's where we sat and chat. You know what I mean? Like the green rooms and the back of the festivals, we all
as much as we could, though.
basis.
You know?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that was a crazy campfire we all sat around at times. And, you know, we haven't had that in a while.
We're solitary. I mean, I'm quite solitary here. Like, there's no other drum and bass heads in my town really, and you know, I don't really have any close friends that are in the scene and sort of co-worker vibes. I've said this before in similar conversations, but you must share this same thing as well. It's really weird talking to your friends about your experiences. It's kind of isolating. You know, because you don't want to brag. You know, the sort of the analogy I always think of is that Thursday night, you're in the pub, you're in the bar with your mates, and you're like, hey man, cool, you know, chilling, and you're like, oh well, got to go off, you know, got a gig this weekend, and then you sort of see them on Monday, and they're like, oh hey John, you know, how was your weekend? And like, you know, back in the day, I wanted to be like, it was fucking amazing. I went to Moscow, I 10,000 people, I shagged all these girls, I made loads of money, I got really drunk. And then I got on a plane, I got in first class because they upgraded me and it was amazing. And I met this famous person. And then I went to this other place, had a really nice dinner. And then I was on TV and then I played another rave and it was huge. And they took me the bodyguard and I saw a Russian man with a gun. And oh my God. And like, but you basically just go, oh yeah, it was good. You know, gigs were all right. Yeah,
it was
your
cool.
weekend, Dave. Yeah. And you
can't, you're like, how's yours? And they're like, oh, we had a barbecue, you know.
Yeah, you know.
Well, it's always interesting too. And we've had these talks many a times, but even like little things, and it's never, you never mean it to come off that way. You're just excited too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll sit here and be watching a movie with the wife and like some far off place, and I'll be like, holy shit, I've been there. And she's like, yeah, okay, I get it. I'm like, no, I was just all right. Like, well, never mind. It's just like,
yeah, but it is
interesting.
So when you
about our life, isn't it? It's just
yeah, pretty much.
Not anymore.
Anyway. No one does.
Sorry.
Only got the memories now. Oh.
It'll come. Will it come back though? That's the thing. That's the weird.
It's gonna come back.
Of course, it'll come back.
Oh man. Anyway, so leading up to when you started to become quite the force, you were embracing aesthetics visually and musically that people in drum and bass were quite split on. You were kind of a polarizing force in some circles because you were willing to sort of cast a wider net, I think, than a lot of people, like sonically. So I remember when I first heard you and I first saw a picture of you, it was when you were quite a bit younger. You had glasses, you had the big blonde kind of frizzy hair. And then
Still
the
kind of,
next,
still kind of got it.
yeah, true. And then the next time I saw you, you were like,
6 months.
and then the next time I saw a picture of you, you had like morphed into your fully formed sort of John B persona that a lot of people were like, "Whoa, what is happening?" I remember actually when I emceed for you in Buffalo, a lot of people were kind of like, "What's this set gonna be like?" Because there was at the time,
it could go one of several ways.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
At the time, there was like this, there was like trance coming into the mix, and like different kind of like electro, and like you had a very like you had started like adopting the whole 80s aesthetic, and people were like really like, what's gonna happen with this set? And they were like, are you gonna MC for him? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna MC for him. And they're like, how's that gonna work? Because at that time there's a lot of vocals in your sets, and people were like, what's gonna happen? So how did you kind of start feeling adventurous enough to start pulling all of these things into your musical mix and persona?
It's weird looking back on it. I don't know if it would have happened if it was me now. Like I think a lot more about how things will be received, and analyze, looking at the analytics and the relative success of actions and activities and stuff. Back then, I was just excited to do things that I thought were cool, and I wanted to push, and I wanted to do, and I wanted people to hear. What initially attracted me to drum and bass was that I could see it could work sounding lots of different ways. When I first did it was the jazzy side that I was like, wow, there were little hints of people like Alex Reese, and there was some sort of jazzy stuff coming on. I was like, oh, I could do some of that, because I was quite into noodly jazz, or I thought I was, from my piano lessons and stuff. And then sort of electro-y vibes. Even in my first album, there are a few electro sort of leaning tracks that I liked, and I've been getting into 80s stuff more. And was just trying out all sorts of stuff, and the weird Latin stuff, which is super cringy now, some of that shit. Really embarrassing. But then I think the main change happened really was when Electro Clash happened, like that movement around 2000.
Yeah.
That kind of, I'd been looking at, like Bowie and Madonna, and the way they had a very strong visual image, and often changed that when they did new albums. Like it was a new image that went along with, like a reinvention that went along with a new album project or something. Right. And I always thought that was cool. I've never really nailed that. I just sort of went quite electro and sort of stuck with it in the imagery. Like I've sort of moved away from that as a look a bit now. I mean, I still wear makeup and my hair, but I tend to wear sort of not. When I look back at, again, some of the clothes I was wearing, like it was very sort of stage clothes, sort of a bit like clownish almost, but I mean, I don't care.
That was the 80s, man. That was,
I feel like it worked.
Yeah,
it just worked. Yeah.
It did.
Worked at the time I did it in, but if I did it now, imagine sort of the foghorn jump up kids in England, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? Well, they'd say that about me now anyway, but
I was gonna say you've been through a bit of that.
I just want to add that my classic moment with John B had to be a couple years ago on La Chinta Beach, and he was rocking this huge Carlton t-shirt.
Oh yes.
And honestly, it was unexpected, to say the least. The set that was played, it was a proper 80s set, but it was drum and bass. And it was like, wait, is this also going to be drum and bass too? Is this? And then it was just left and right, and the crowd lost their minds. I was like, yo, what is this? So
I remember that one. Yeah, so Sun and Bass. Usually at Sun and Bass, if you're there long enough, you get to do 2 sets. I'll always do a proper drum and bass set, which usually ends up being at Amber Night, like the outdoor thing. And then on the beach one, they always ask me to do, an alternative set. Sometimes I've just done a classic set or something, but my mission for that one was meant to be a kind of an 80s set. But what I did at the end was, so I started with proper just 80s stuff, but like cool sort of 4/4 sort of banging 80s. Yep. And then I switched it up, and for the second half, I just played all the bootleg 80s remixes I'd made over the years that I hadn't played out in my sets for a long time. And I thought because it was at daytime, beach, like,
Right.
and also
It was
because I
that
think
kind of vibe.
the sets either side of me had been more traditional drum and bass ones as well. So I thought, wow, if there's a time to go a bit crazy, that's the one, like Sun and Bass. But then again, it's really risky somewhere like Sun and Bass, especially that year, because that was a year when it really blew up and it was very, very busy, and there were a lot more kind of younger UK ravers
Right.
there
Yep.
who possibly wouldn't know who I was really, or they just be, oh, up all night, mate, yeah, banger. Like, they'd be like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? What is this shit, And it's really risky and even when I play old school stuff now, it's really risky because if that's the only time they've ever seen me playing, if they're new drum and bass fans, they'll just write me off as sort of old school DJ or something that only like because I play Sunday night streams where I only play vinyl. If that's all they think I ever do, I'm like, great, that's it. I've kissed my festival career goodbye.
Oh man,
It's weird.
I was gonna say, by the way people were singing every song, I'll say you were pretty safe that day, at least. There may have been a few
Yeah, it was good.
detractors on the side, but the bulk, everybody was waiting for every record. And I remember just sitting, I was behind you at the bar, looking at Carlton go up like this, and I was just like, whoa, this is what's going on here? Like, this is amazing.
Especially when everyone's probably still fucked up from the night before and having
from the night before.
Like,
Yeah, somebody was laid out on the floor. Yeah, it was crazy, man.
It was always a journey, never knowing. Because in the beginning, too, when I first saw you come on the scene and when you were coming to Philly or New York or things like that, it was like I had no idea in the beginning. So, like, my first experience with you, I was like, all right, what just happened? Like, we had this whole night that was one way, and all of a sudden you got on, and the entire mood switched, and I was like, okay.
Like a section of the crowd shuffles out.
But a new one came in. Like, it was just crazy. But it was funny because, like, even early on when I was like, what is happening right now? And I'd have like people that brought me up like, yo, no, this dude is the guy. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we all look up to what he's doing. You've always been regarded as one of the most, I say prolific, but like one of the most like technically sound producers out in the game. I've had Goldie sit me down and go through a long tangent of just like, no, John B is the greatest dude ever. Like, and then we'd had years after that where then it became, I didn't even know what set you'd pull up with because there'd be times you'd do the electro thing and then there's times you'd come in and just completely tear out on some, like, and it was just like, you were so versatile in everything you did.
Kind of comes to like judging where I'm playing, like the city and the club. Like I'm still like that now. Like in a perfect world, I play a lot more electro-y and weird, interesting stuff. But it's a bad move to do that somewhere where it won't go down well. Like at the peak of my electro-y stuff, I could do that a lot more because it was really what people were expecting when they came to see me. Nowadays, it's kind of like I have to sort of re-educate people of like that part of my career. Like, and I certainly don't think I could have got away with doing any of the freaky deaky stuff if I hadn't like got a few more sort of acceptable kind of bangers under my belt. Like if I hadn't made Up All Night and like a lot of my earlier stuff like Sight Beyond and Secrets, the one that Groove Rider signed, if I hadn't done some good solid stuff like that and showed where my heart was and that I knew what proper drum and bass was and how important it is, you need to do stuff like that if you want the freedom to try other things as well.
What's funny is you name those things as if they were just like small things entered to the scene. Do it when they're like some of the best drum bass tunes of all time.
Yeah.
It's just like, that was more than just showing your heart was in it, man. That was definitive shit right there,
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
So,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I was going to bring up the Twisted
The
Individual.
awkward Zoom silence.
No. I was like, should I bring that up now?
I'm off on my keyboard. I've got one of those like gamer keyboards with lights on it, and there's a flipping.
Oh, you got the
like normally moths go on your screen, and this thing's going on my bloody keyboard.
Armani, what were you gonna say?
I was going to bring up the Twisted Individual thing. If there were times where like I felt that you were purposely making things to prove a point, like that was a moment too.
Yeah.
Not to bring up.
I feel a bit bad about that because sort of I don't know how it affected him. I've never really spoken to him about it, but like it was a bit of a bullying-y dick move on my part, really. But it wasn't meant to be. Like I was just trying to have fun, and like it was a reaction against some stuff at the time. I just when I made Bandwagon Poos, I'd had this idea in my head that half the time I was making making tracks with really big ambitious intros, and I still feel like that now. It's kind of the same way I was talking about attitudes towards putting all the effort into streaming and everything. You know, the idea for Bandwagon Poos originally was make a track with a big ambitious intro and then just literally go on the mic and be like, fuck this shit, they don't want it, they just want some wobbly shit, and then just switch into something completely unrelated. I mean, a lot of drum and bass is like that. You have an intro,
for sure,
and it just switches into something completely like the modern foghorn style of mixing. You'll hear there's
the foghorn reigns supreme,
and then the style of mixing, you just literally cross over to and everyone's like, oh my god, what a genius. Oh my god, no one else is DJing like that now. What did he do? He played a song up to the breakdown, and when it happened, he quickly switched into another track that just goes oh my mind blown.
Lord.
I'm gonna do that too. And then but it was like that. I thought, I'm gonna make a track with a big sort of trancey intro and then just switch it up. And then I thought, I'll make it topical, like, because I thought it was just a bit lame that Twisted was mad at Distorted Minds for making that they'd done a T-10 remix or something that sounded it sounded like Twisted but different and like kind of heavier, kind of better. And he took whatever, and I thought because we were all on the same label, people would understand it was a joke and whatever. But the main mistake I made was I kind of gave a clip of it to some like Dogs on Acid dub platey thing.
Dogs on Acid is a bad thing.
There was something that was, I don't even know if it was Dogs on Acid or there was this other linked one that was like a dub platey place or something. I put a clip on there, and then there was a thread on Dogs on Acid, and I went out to Swerve, and by the time I got home about 5 a.m, there was this thread on DOA had gone to 10 pages, and everyone was going crazy, like people had been phoning each other and all this while I was just out getting pissed at Swerve. And I hadn't had a chance to like phone SS or tell Twisted and be like, hey, are you all right with this, mate? I'm not, so I kind of fucked up there and whatever. But
it's funny because I don't know how it was perceived elsewhere, but to a lot of us it wasn't even that deep. It was just like, oh wow, like it was just a music. I don't know, maybe it's the hip hop in us that we're just used to that shit. Like, you know what I mean? But
it was there were a whole bunch of reasons I made it. I was like pissed off that you can put a lot of effort into a tune and it doesn't really matter. You can just make something cheesy and easy. I kind of wanted to show how easy it was to make a formulaic sort of jump up of the time track. I even like, if you look at the layout of the tune, it doesn't even adhere to the normal 4-8 bar stuff. I was just like, fuck it, and put all the switch ups in different positions. Like, I just did it as a joke because I was sort of annoyed with some stuff. And
it doesn't matter it doesn't matter where we are in drum and bass. There is perennially going to be a whole bunch of drum and bass out there that is like that. It's like fodder for spoofing and making fun of, and it's meme worthy, I guess, in the modern
good
context.
Anyway, like I thought, despite what some people might think from me having made tunes like that or whatever, I love all kinds of drum and bass. I don't play it all, but I don't think any is shit. I don't look down on any. When I did my Star Trek set, I played quite a lot of modern jump up stuff, a lot of stuff you wouldn't expect me to, and I love it. And when I first started DJing, when I was still a student, that was when there was a lot more elitism and Photech stuff and Source Direct and all that. That was what I really liked. But there was a lot of kind of what people were saying was cheesy jump up then, like sort of Aphrodite stuff, like that kind of sound. And I used to play loads of that at my student parties to get like the non-drum and bass heads into it, to bring them into the genre and show them there's all sorts of stuff. It's all good fun. It doesn't all have to be really serious. Everything has its place. It's all valid, whatever.
That's what I mean, to be honest with you, that's exactly what I got from it. And I felt that that moment was healthy for the scene. That's why I say I take away the other part of it. Like when you mentioned it and you said you felt bad about it, I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. Maybe I should have brought it up. But the point of bringing it up was the simple fact that that's what we took from it. It was like, look, man, like we all love all of this. And at any point in time, we can make it. It's not a production skill thing. It was about what you love to do, and especially as Americans, like a lot of us took that to heart, like because we got pushed to the side sometimes. We're like, no, we love this just as much too,
Right.
So the fact that you were like able to, like, I can pull this out at any point in time and make it's not an issue, It's like, so I thought that was a really cool moment for drum and bass that always stuck out with me.
Yeah, I loved it because the little crew I ran with we were like the metalheads, like good looking records kind of crew. Like that's what we like. It was deeper drum and bass, right? And like
intelligent.
And the other crew in our town was like more on like that contemporary jump up and raga and stuff like that. And like and we got
early division, definitely, wasn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where like our like little crew was continually kind of like, I don't know, like kind of, shunted to the side a lot. And we felt like disrespected, even though we had the radio show in the city and stuff like that. And it became like this weird thing where we almost became like anti-raga and stuff like that. Raga, just however you say it. And it was weird. And even though I had raga mixtapes, the house, I had like, Raga Jungle Anthems, volume 1, 2, and 3. Like I loved it, but I almost came to resent it for a little while. Because number one, I was young. And, number two, it was one of those things where like we viewed this as, oh, this has to be the easier way forward. You just throw in like some crazy fucking raga vocal over like just a bass line and just drums and the whole crowd goes nuts. But meanwhile, we play stuff that's like serious music and, people like don't respond. So we all felt like some type of way. We finally actually, with those guys, like got our heads out of our ass and like we all talked and we were just like, this is stupid, but it just, there's always this, yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. And it's like, that was like one of those things that was like very, like, I feel like endemic of like drum and bass in the States at the time.
Yeah.
Where like people like immediately were trying to grasp at some sort of like identity through drum and bass. And there's only a few people out there that weren't. Like Dara wasn't doing that. Like Dara was intentionally playing everything. And
he still does that up to this day.
Exactly, which is why he's always been like one of the most respected people around. It's just It just reminds me of that time. But I remember dog barking was something that I can't remember. I think maybe DJ Cable in Buffalo came up with the idea long before Dogs on Acid. He coined the term dog barking about a certain type of drum bass at that time, where everything sounded like dogs barking.
Yeah.
Like that Warhead remix. Like I feel like the Warhead remix was a perfect example of that whole dog barking thing. It was just, yeah. So that's
why am I just staring this dude this phrase down? Well, I've never heard dog.
I've never heard of that until now. And the second he said it, I was like,
there is a certain type of bass sound that does remind me of dogs barking, but it's hard to. There's a sort of an electro-y house track that had one in, but I can't remember the name, so this is pointless. I know what you mean.
It just became like, oh, let's just make this bass as distorted as possible, and like
fire.
It is. No, that's
good.
It totally.
Let me hit record.
It became the dominant kind of, like Neuro kind of ran with that, like after post Ed Russian Optical, and it became the dominant thing. So like, it was just, but we didn't hate it or anything. We just kind of laughed at it. Like it was kind of it's a dog barking track,
The views of value
not
are not necessarily a condition.
Oh God. Oh,
this is back in like what, 2000, 99, 2000, 2001.
So, all right.
Come on, we were young and stupid.
Super important question. What is your bucket list food?
Fee.
Food. Food. No, we're not.
Food.
We're not going to talk fees on this podcast.
Quite the segue there, Armani Rain.
Yeah, that was from
I
dog
like
barking
the
to
hard
food.
left. You know what I mean? I like the cut. You know, we were just talking about how you start with a melodic intro and just completely switch it. I was just embodying that whole situation. Plus, we ask everybody, and I was thinking about it the whole time. Like, oh, we forgot to ask John.
My bucket list food. Like
yeah,
what?
Green
If I was
Mile.
going to die tomorrow, what would I
Took the
eat?
words
Yeah.
right out of my mouth. See?
How do you mean? It varies from day to day. Like I don't know. Sometimes I'm a bit fucking joyless. In a lot of respects in my life, to be
Saddest
honest.
thing
Like
ever.
a lot of, I've gone through phases where, you know, when I was younger and like sort of not worrying about saving money and everything, I was a lot more into food and going out and like trying really posh stuff. And like, you know, I've been to some really nice Michelin restaurants and I love it and everything. But now as I get a bit older and, you know, are conscious that everything costs money and you got to save money and everything, I'm like, well, why would I want to? It just seems like such a crazy idea to this is because, you know, I assume I would be paying for this food that I would eat before I die.
Well, we don't know how you got it.
No.
It could be
If you could-
abracadabra.
It could,
Yeah.
if you were like, this is the, I need this before I
It's
go.
the enterprise. The enterprise replicator is going to make
Yeah,
this for you.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you say, computer? What?
I don't know. Right now, I'm not. You know what? Maybe it's to
Pre-COVID.
do with like so I quit drinking like almost a couple of years ago now.
Okay.
And I think part of that is like a mindset change of, you know, hey, you know, John, would you like a drink? And my answer is like, well, why would I? Why would I want to drink anything? You know,
Mm.
here's all the list of reasons why I wouldn't. And like with food's obviously different because it doesn't, you know, cost loads of money and
Give you a
make you
hangover.
depressed and make you fat unless you're eating like blobs of chocolate and stuff. But in the same sort of way, I'm like, well, I don't know, I'll just eat something to keep going. I love American barbecue. I'd love a good brisket made by someone who knew what they were doing, because
Mm.
that's a rare thing to get. I like American barbecue because it's, you know, really an aficionado thing and it's really complicated, but it's kind of simple, not expensive food. There's an art to it. Or yeah, I think American barbecue. If I could just say, can I have something really special? That because I wouldn't feel guilty about like, ooh, it's an arugula salad with a 3-day sous vide tomato jus over aged pigeon breast with a quail's egg
Nothing beats a good
velouté. Like,
barbecue. A good
yeah.
segue into that. I actually have a friend who mentioned the fact that you make your own barbecue. Is that true?
yeah,
Hot sauce.
what I make my own barbecue sauce
Yeah,
and
right.
hot sauce as well. I do low and slow barbecue cooking as well, but
Oh.
obviously only when I've got the time to
Right.
put into it. I bought myself a nice smoker a couple of years ago. Oh no, it was my birthday. It was a birthday present. Got a nice one of those bullet smokers, but it's not. It's one of those ones you have to babysit very carefully. You can't just. It's not like a Traeger pellet smoker or anything. So it's one of the reasons I don't do smoking too much because you have to wake up every
Process,
couple
yeah,
of
for
hours.
sure.
Yeah, it's a
to
thing.
check the temperature.
Process is something,
Yeah.
yeah, something special.
Hey, so can we go back for a second? You mentioned that you quit drinking. You want to talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah, I guess it's sort of. I had a weird little health scare. So when was it? It's end of 2018 or something. And I was supposed to be going to America for a 1-gig weekend. I think maybe somewhere in Virginia or whatever. Like the travel was going to be a bit of a hassle. I wasn't going to get much sleep, so I wasn't really looking forward to it. And my wife had got ill, like had some kind of weird vertigo thing, and we were worried maybe she had there was a few things we were worried about, and it turned out to be an inner ear infection, but we thought maybe she had low blood pressure. So I went and bought one of those blood pressure machines, just like they have in the doctor's office, and an electric one. And she was fine. I tried it on me, and mine was really quite high. And I was like, fuck. So I told my doctors, and they're like, oh, this is high. And it wasn't my normal doctor. It was a stand-in. And she basically overreacted a bit and sent me to the hospital. And I had to go to like the emergency thingy. And they just checked it again and did a quick blood test to check that I was okay. And then they just prescribed me blood pressure medication. and sent me home. But like I was kind of anxious at the time, which maybe like hyped it up. But that was kind of the kicker that really gave me the final reason I needed to like stop drinking. Just sort of made me worry about my health. When in reality, it had just sort of gone up a bit high just because of weird shit. I don't know, because it's completely under control. My blood pressure's under control now, like completely normal, really. I'm on the lowest dose of any blood pressure medication you can be on. But I just been drinking a lot, like most days, just crept up on me. Just drinking wine most nights. I'm 43 now. I was like, I'm not going to keep on with this every bloody night. Like I'm putting so much weight on, and like feeling had some quite bad depressive periods, and like sort of feeling as though alcohol was sort of part of that. Waking up with a hangover every morning just starts your day off on a depressed vibe anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
And I
Was it
like,
getting in the way? Was it getting in the way of like life in general in terms of like if you had to perform or anything or?
Nah, that's the thing. Like I knew I wanted to like at least cut down or something, and I just found it hard. Like because I liked drinking wine at the time. But most people that quit drinking, there's something's happened. They've drunk driven or like been having fights or arguing with their wife or lost their job or can't perform or whatever. Absolutely none of that. Like I had the small like health scare thing with my blood pressure, which I'll say like that helped sort of.
Sure.
It was the final light bulb thing. We're like, come on, John, you got to sort something out here. And yeah, I just decided I'm like, it's time to stop. I would like a life free from alcohol. Like I can do everything I was doing before. I can go to all the bars and the clubs and have fun. It's just I'll sleep better and I'll lose weight and I won't be depressed as much. And
pretty much.
I can hopefully wake up in the morning sometimes and not feel shit. Like I'm still working on that. I still find it hard to get up early. But the only thing I miss is sort of not. I guess I like sort of drinking to just sort of the anesthetic effect at the end of the night, just to like chill and just drink a fucking bottle of wine with dinner and be like, oh, nice. And because I've never done drugs, I've never smoked weed or anything. It was my only sort of thing for just like blocking everything out. So I'm still adjusting to that. I think it's partly why I'm just working so much and staying up so late just working, because I find it hard to find a way to cool down and relax. But I'm like a million times happier having that out of my life. For me, like it's definitely best for me. Like
I've cut down drinking tremendously, and it wasn't because of any kind of spiritual awakening either. It was just kind of like, why? It's not.
I think there comes a point in our lives, and as performers as well, like no one wants to see like, it's hard enough as sort of middle-aged men jumping around on stage. There's a voice thing. They don't want to see, like, no one wants to see a fat middle-aged man out of control who's like can't control his drinking and is like a bit of a disgrace. Or like, if you're going to be there at this point in our lives, I think we need to be like more pro and like, I've always been my absolute best, and you can when you're trashed, and if it's part of your persona and everything, it's fine. But like, I don't know. I feel like,
even that's kind of weird. I mean, I made a conscious effort when I started touring with Nick. Two things. While drinking was fun on stage and whatever, and you get loose and you act crazy and yada, 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 there was a point, a little bit of professionalism where it was like, all right, I need to be completely focused, one. And then I started realizing I felt better. So it was like, I might have a drink before we start, but like, it were times where we didn't even do that. I maybe drink after, but just drinking water during the whole time and just feeling energized through that just felt better. And just, I was more clear in what I was saying. It wasn't, you weren't relying on just vibes so much anymore either. It was just like, I'm here to do what I do. You know what I mean? So.
And when you've got a flight to get on in the morning,
Lord.
life feels nicer.
Don't get me started.
In the last couple of years, it's been beautiful. Like I do a gig and I could wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. What is this?
Walking through an airport sober, like, non-hungover in the morning. Oh, I'll just have a coffee. Good morning. How are you? Oh,
How
yes,
are
I'm
you?
okay. I don't mind if I do. It's so much. I mean, I loved the time before as well when I was like drunk and crazy and stuff. But it's nice to be different with that now as well.
Yeah, I was talking to MC Kappa about this kind of thing, and now that we're all getting older and stuff, you know, and Kappa wakes up every day at 5 a.m.
Good man.
5 a.m. He's like, I have more shit, and he sounded like an army commercial. He's like, I have more done by fucking 8 a.m. than most people get done all day.
Yeah.
He's like, I was like, well, what happens if you got a gig and you stay up late? And he's like, well, I might sleep in a little bit, but generally, I'll wake up if I've only slept a couple hours, and I'll just try to go about my day as best I can and go to bed early when I get a chance to try and catch up. And I'm like,
I
need to
really,
do that,
really want to go that way. Like, I went down a whole rabbit hole of like productivity stuff and, you know, all these, there's a whole world of like motivational people and people on YouTube like, this is how I start my day. At 5 a.m. I wake up and I meditate for 10 minutes and then I drink a Thai matcha tea and I do my breathing exercises. I go for a 5-mile run. Then I come back, I do some journaling. And like,
can we do the rest of this interview with you doing that accent and then us doing some sort of British impression? Right, then, John, can you tell us about Up All Night then?
No.
well, when I made Up All Night, what the fuck happens with this? I'll tell you how I made Up All Night. When I'm trying to do it, I'll fuck it up. Yeah.
Holy
oh my
smokes.
God. So like, anyway, I was in LA at the time and I just got back from the Beverly Center and my friend got me this new bass sound and I was like, oh my God, that is sick. So I loaded in my sampler and I was like, beep, beep, beep. And then it just happened and I made this tune and I went and spin it at a nightclub and my girls were all like, John, that tune is sick. And I was like, I know, I'm going to send it to Goldie. It'll be amazing.
You guys are waking me up for sure.
I was listening for the English to slip through. You were good
No,
at that.
no,
You were
that
too
was
good
good.
at that, I think.
Like it became so good. I really was just listening to the story at that point.
You were like, yeah?
Keep going. Yeah. Did we all freeze her? Oh no.
Some of the first big American parties I
Drew-
played. Drew McMahon.
Yeah, I remember his name. I don't remember. I mean, I didn't live anywhere
Greensboro,
near.
North Carolina.
Yeah, I was about 1,000 miles away from there, so I never went there. But I remember his name coming up quite a bit. I
Yeah.
remember talking.
No, I
I
never
used to talk
played
to
with it.
Focus in Greensboro a lot. I think it was in Greensboro.
He's
in North Carolina, so I do remember his name coming up.
He probably wouldn't realize it, but he was definitely a big sort of patron for my career early on because the reason I mention him is because he would phone up. The first initial contacts of him trying to book me was phoning the phone number that was on my records for my label to try and find out my booking information, which was just a landline that rung in my bedroom with an answer phone. And I thought it was someone prank calling me the first couple of times because he'd leave a message. He's like, hi there, this is Drew McMath calling from North Carolina. I was inquiring if I could book you to play in my party. Sorry, that went a bit like Texas-y, the hillbilly there. But anyway, yeah, that's the funny accent vibe. But that was a mad one because him booking me, he would come in with like solid offers for a good gig in North Carolina, in Greensboro, that we knew would be good. And then we could build tours off the back of that. And there's a few like unsung heroes of American drum and bass that have helped people a lot, especially international artists, that they may not have realized how helpful it is to just have like a good solid gig that then agents can then go and like build a little tour around and stuff. And,
Were there cities that in particular that you always really liked playing when you came over to North America?
Back in my youth, it was mainly to do with where there were girls I knew that I could shag, or like, you know, if I had a girl that I was seeing or something. So I don't know. Baltimore, I was like Baltimore and DC.
Yeah.
Baltimore had
just had a good group of friends there. And you know, Sonar was beautiful and Buzz.
Buzz,
Oh my God.
Buzz is one of my favorite. Yeah, I loved it.
New York, I didn't like at the beginning because it was so alien. You know, I remember going with World of Drum and Bass and our first couple of gigs there. It was one of those ones where the gig was a bit up in the air. even though we were on tour, like it hadn't
Was it
fully
in
been nailed
Brooklyn?
in. I don't know, because we didn't even end up going on those
Oh,
first
okay.
couple of times, and sort of the accommodation had been a bit crap. So like the first few times I went to New York, I was like, oh, I don't know about this.
Right.
But then I really got to love it. There was a period of a couple of years where I was quite seriously dating a girl that lived in the East Village. So I'd go on like American trips, and then I'd go and stay with her kind of midweek. So I spent quite a lot of time in New York and really got to, well, I think I got to know it, or as much as a guy like me can.
East Village is perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's lovely.
yeah.
Like back in those days, it was. I think it's a bit more gentrified now, but like back then it was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love everywhere in America I've been. It's all, different character for different cities, so many different vibes. Miami, of course. We
I was
all
gonna
love
say.
Miami.
I was like, Miami is-
That's my most vivid John B memory.
all
If I
of
could blow
my
up your
most
spot a
vivid
little
John
bit.
B
People used
memories.
to think
Is
I
when-
lived there.
Yeah,
is when I was
I don't blame them.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know what the
It's
fuck
like-
I was doing.
It
Yeah.
was when I was walking up the beach and I saw you, and you had, I believe, and this is going to sound maybe blowing up your spot a little bit, but there was 3 girls with you, and you were wearing hot pink short shorts and an off the shoulder, I forget what it said. It was like a very Wham type T-shirt, and you saw me
Yes.
coming up, and you had played Buffalo fairly recently before that, so you were like, "Valiant MC," and like you said some sort of gibberish, and your sunglasses were a little bit crooked on your face, and
Oh
you just
no,
kind
I'd
of went
probably
about
been at
your
like a
way
pool
saying something.
party. Yeah.
Yeah, well, probably. We were all a little.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely
laced up.
times. There were definitely times I saw you at the beginning of conference, and I was like, "How you been?" You're like, "I've been here for weeks," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. I think there were 3 or 4 years in a row where I'd always, I don't know, I booked a hotel for a couple of weeks once or twice. Like I'd found a little guest house place on Collins that wasn't too expensive and had a little like a fridge and stuff. And then after, that was quite expensive anyway, like probably $2,000 or $2,500 to stay for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For that time, like that's expensive. I mean, that wouldn't get you fucking 2 nights now.
I was gonna say, yeah. No, that's just
And
like,
I was
fuck.
like, shit, I'm sure I could like rent an apartment for a month for that, or for less even. But this was before Airbnb and things like that. So I eventually found a couple of places, and it was cheaper for me to I rented this little studio somewhere sort of on the corner of about like 12th and Collins. It was a bit shady, but it was all right. Rented that for 2 months 1 year, and then used it as a tour base. That was when Henry was my agent. Like that was good. That worked well. And then a few other years, I just rented a little place in Miami for 1 month, and it was just nice for a little bit of a break. Like it's early enough in the year then that I felt like I could reset a bit and didn't feel the pressure of like having to be in the studio for ages. And like the argument was like being in America for that long would mean I could do more gigs and just do weekend gigs, and I'd have somewhere to go back to. So it worked all right, but I wouldn't be. Well, I'm married now, so unless I brought my wife with me or something, it would be crazy just to be sat there on my own. We went for our honeymoon. That was it. The last time I went to Miami actually was our honeymoon. We did the same thing.
Wow.
Rented an apartment. It was in the Carlisle where I stayed for the last few times. That place on Ocean where they filmed like Birdcage, because they're all, a lot of them are like vacation apartments that you can rent for longer periods of time, and it's not. They're really
They're nice.
They're big and quite nice. They're not super modern, but they're good spots, and they've got washing machines and everything. So it's kind of, the other argument is it saves money on going out and eating every bloody meal, and like Miami, just hemorrhaging money, like Cuban sandwich, Starbucks, sushi. Like can't I just eat a fucking banana and have my normal breakfast? Like, so yeah, but yeah, last time I went to Miami, it was for my honeymoon like 5 years ago, and we stayed for a month in that place, and it was cool.
People forget.
I don't know how I'd feel about going back now. Like I start to like hate it and hate the people and all like waddling tourists and all the EDM fuckers and like
it's very different
tourists.
now. I was literally just about to say about how much of the Wild West Miami conference used to be back in the day compared to what it is now. It's very organized EDM. Like now when I do gigs, I fly in, fly out. There's no like let's hang out.
There's
here.
no reason
Nothing
to be
against
around
it.
as much.
But yeah, it's not what it used to be, which is not bad. It is what
I love South Beach when it's quiet. That was something that I liked when when I stayed for a longer period of time.
Lots of quiet time
Was
in Miami.
when there wasn't something on that weekend.
Yeah.
And if you're up early, like it's when we were there for our honeymoon, it turned out they hadn't told us they were doing construction on the building for the whole month.
Nice.
And they started at 9 a.m. So it meant we were getting up at 7 and just going to the beach to get the fuck out of there.
Oh,
And it was,
Lord.
I'd never seen that side of Miami before ever, like feeling more like a local, being up early, no one on the streets, the beach is quiet, no like twats walking along with boom boxes going, hey, do you want a henna tattoo, guys? Like, can I play my guitar to you while perving on you? Like,
Oh, Lord.
so that's, yeah, things like that. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Brown in Toronto wanted me to ask you about, because I've been using my Chihuahua lately in some of my Instagram posts. He wanted me to ask you about Chihuahua Records. What was the story with that?
Yeah. God, well, I think I only did 4 or 5 releases on it. It was just meant to be an avenue to separate out my sort of Latin-inspired drum and bass stuff. Again, just a bit fun. One of the more embarrassing sides of my musical output. Like there's one called the Chihuahua theme that's pretty good. Una Cerveza. I got Merle B to do the vocals on that. She was a Miami native.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name for a while.
But there was some like listening back to salsa now. Some of those ones, fuck, like in the world of like canceling people and shit. I'm waiting for my time.
I think people respect the hell out of it.
Yeah. It was a fun tune. It was done out of like trying to do. I was like, salsa and drum and bass and Tita Puente sounds and.
Well, the fact that you're calling yourself out first means you won't be canceled. Don't worry about it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll travel back in time. The overlords of cancelling will travel back in time. John B.
That John B. character. That'll be it, right? Hey, so
really loving your accent track. That was fantastic. Go ahead.
That was not fantastic. I'm the worst at English accents, please. But man, I just like the fact that it feels like you are a solid '80s kid, and I always enjoyed most of those ideas that even the videos, which are off the chain, every last one of them, the whole carefreeness of it all, that feels like, yes, this is what everybody needs to hear and understand. But I got one question. I asked this to Frost, and maybe you can give me an answer to this. What exactly was new wave music back in the 80s?
New wave. My dad asked me this recently because he goes to this thing called the Vinyl Experience that they do in a local theatre where they have a really nice record player and a really nice sound system, and then 100 people go and they sort of talk them through a famous album or whatever, and they were going to do a new wave one. It's like, John, what's new wave? And I don't really. I always thought of new wave as the kind of American sound, more guitars in it, like slight punk influences, less electronic.
Maybe
Flock of well, not even Flock of Seagulls, really. I just think of it as the more American Echo Beach far away. Sort of guitar-led, American-centric 80s.
Yeah, I mean, it was a media. It was a
term created by industry, probably, at this point.
Yeah, not even the industry. I think it was like the media, the industry watchers and the media that created it. So it became like this thing. That's why Flock of Seagulls can be new wave or not, depending on who you're talking to.
Because if we're talking about like the second British invasion in the 80s, all the European cast that came out, and then this happened right there. It was just to play off all those amazing groups that came in, your U2s, your Duran Duran, all those guys. And then something called New Wave, which I grew up thinking it was something that was coming out of London. So I've always just like, how come nobody talks about this part? And all it really sounds like to me is it just was a melting pot of different styles of music that was going on at the time. And nobody can describe it. So
we haven't gotten a clear answer from anyone. Not one single person.
To me, it's the American side of things, and I would say a bit more guitar-led, more American bands than English, definitely.
I would say that the
like
B-52s could possibly
Prawns.
be.
It's like what Americans call the same thing. It's like 80s music.
There you go. Apart from music, you have clear cultural references in your work and you know your public persona and stuff like that. I mean, you've got Jean-Luc Picard in a picture frame behind you.
Yeah.
Yes.
My
So
girlfriend would be proud of that.
what kinds of things were like big influences on you growing up? Not music related. I mean, you can talk about music if you want, but I'm talking like other stuff, like, you know, movies and TV and literature, whatever. What kinds of things were things that you really latched onto?
I don't know, like the 80s movies stuff I got into kind of after university. So I was like in my 20s. So that, and that would have been like, you know, 2000-ish. My love for the 80s kind of came after the 80s.
Interesting.
A lot of it was when I'd started earning money DJing and had a bit more disposable money to buy music and CDs. And when Amazon started selling CDs, and I was just like,
Yeah.
I want all these CDs. And I remember just buying so stuff, and also touring America and going to Best Buy and be like, it's only $7 for an album. They're like £12.99 in England. I'd literally come back with DVDs and CDs. I bought so much stuff in America. Best Buy, I'd go in, I'd be like, ah! and people are like, can I help you, sir? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just buying this whole fucking thing. Like, so yeah, kind of a lot of it came from quite late in my life, that sort of stuff. Don't know, technology, bit of a nerd, still really am. Like when I get really excited about learning new things I can do, sort of, that's why I've really got into streaming, is just sort of learning like green screen type of effects and special effects and all the video editing things. Like when I did that song called Get Stuffed last year, I filmed and edited the whole video for that myself. Like, there's, you know, it doesn't look that mad really, but there's loads and loads of funny video effects and green screen things. And I sort of, doing that video really helped me learn a lot of tricks and techniques and things. So now I've got them under my belt, I can kind of apply them to other stuff, which as things get more visual and video oriented, it's useful. Web design, you know, I do all my own web shit and all of that, and just getting to grips with, you know, even just Twitch, just doing that best practice and getting everything set up right and having all your emotes and logos and learning about setting up chat bots that are continuously posting links within the chat and, you know, smart home shit, all that. Like that seems to just take up all my time. Like, and then writing songs when they don't work. It's like, getting angry at technology. That's my current thing, really.
Lord.
It's funny because Track and I have been having these conversations back and forth as well, because, you know, we've both been on the video editing train, and I'm having this conversation with Raul the Soundbender, and it's funny as a musician diving into this world and finding the similarities between the two, and then like realizing, oh wow, we're opening up this whole new creative space. And no, I'm not Michael Bay today, but like I'm very proud of the things that I've done, and then like how cool of a thing that is to find this new thing to create. While it's always fun making new music, like this is a completely different avenue that's just like sparks something different. And like again, the Twitch thing, and it's funny because it's funny for me and you as well, which we talked about earlier, as a gamer, how in tune we were with Twitch way before any of this anyway. And like it's almost like it's almost a smack in the face to myself that like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't take advantage like I wanted to a long time ago. People are like, oh my God, Twitch. And I'm like, yo, Twitch has been around for a decade. It's like there's no, you know what I mean?
But the audience has to be ready for it. And, you know, like
for sure,
the Twitch audience is normally there looking for gaming content and stuff. So to persuade music fans to go there is quite a hard ask. And I think it's only now when all of us are all saying, hey, check out Twitch, that, you know, they're being told by lots of people to go and check out Twitch. So I think it's a lot easier. And if you're the only man going, hey, come to Twitch, it's really good, check it out. They're like,
Twitch.
But even then, it's still worrying. But
it's huge, man. Twitch is gigantic. I mean, even one of the biggest categories on there is just chatting, which is, you know, what we broadcast on as well.
Which makes me want to fucking give up everything I'm doing on there. After
always
spending the whole of lockdown making. If you haven't, I don't know if you've seen the Star Trek thing I did like last week. I did a DJ set. I'd set up all these different scenes. I'd photoshopped green screen areas into isolated frames of Star Trek videos. had all loads of all this complicated shit doing. Like, it was really ambitious and it worked. I had to run it on my like fucking super expensive Mac Pro to get it work. Like the amount of effort and technology and infrastructure required. And like, it was so, I didn't really advertise it. I just went live. I was like, I'm doing a Star Trek stream, boink, and, you know, hoped on it sort of going a little bit viral at the time. But, you know, I only got, in terms of live viewers on Twitch, probably only peaked at 150 or something, which is fuck all. Like, I'm sure when I actually hype something up in advance and do a stream, it'll be better. But you go to all that effort and make something so amazing and interesting and different and fun, and then you're like, oh, I'll just browse and look on Just Chatting, and it's like, it's
Can you
know
imagine?
what? It's
Yeah,
like,
it's just one dude.
thanks for the 75 biddies. Hey there, beardy guy 94. Yeah, just got my hair done. Like,
It's like 375,000 people watching. You're like, what
all these people
is
watching.
going on?
What the fuck? And like they're trying desperately to sort of keep within the realms of like, because you're not supposed to attract attention to or objectify certain parts of the body under Twitch terms of service.
Right.
And so it's like, how do you tread the line between like showing you've got massive boobs and like, but not being like having the camera directly on them, and like, I don't know. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, and like, I don't want to criticize people. Like, I would probably be doing that too if that was my vibe, but it does make me sad when I'm trying to do something that requires a lot more effort than just being a bit sexy and going, thank you for the 50 biddies, sexy big balls, Dave.
That's like the whole creative world, though, isn't it? It's just like, even when you make like really elaborate tunes and you sit down, this is the tune I've been working on for months, and I just didn't get it right, and you put it out, people are like, yeah, it's cool. And then you put out that tune, we're like, this took 15
Hold on one
minutes.
sec,
I'm
guys.
just going to throw this out. And it's the biggest tune ever. And you're like, you know what? Like, I don't know what's wrong with you people, but I spent 6 months on this tune and no one cares.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the law, man.
It is what
the
it
stuff
is.
you love is not the people who are going to like. It's just, and the stuff that's just like, I'll just do this. Then all of a sudden, before you turn away, there's like a million people in front of you. Like, what is this record?
It's funny.
What's going on?
Discord was the same way, man. It's like this really powerful platform that people just wrote off for some gamer stuff, and it's not. It's like a huge sub-community that people didn't even realize.
I only just started a server last week. I've only just because I needed to use it for chat, for playing Escape from Tarkov with another person. I was like, oh, this looks quite good, Discord. So I don't know. It's good because I like the way it's not throttled and no advertising, and like it can't be fucked around with the way Facebook does and stuff. So that's quite promising.
It's been a lot of people's alternative, to be honest with you. People left a lot of social media networks and they go into Discord and create the servers. That's why there's a bunch of sub communities there. You could literally look up on Reddit right now for literally anything you want to go to, and no one deals with it. There's no toxicity. Everyone comes in. You can be booted from it if you cause a problem. Like, it's a really, really great service that they did not pay me to say.
I got booted. I got booted from the Discord already.
Oh Lord!
All right, this is the story.
Did you say Rollers is a sub on the?
No. Somebody was saying. Basically, it came down to like someone didn't know the difference between electric and electronic, and this is on an electronic music forum, and I was like, "Are you serious?" Like, I was basically kind of like incredulous. Like, what are you talking? Are you like taking the piss right now? And because I did that, they were like, "Now you're out of here." And I was like,
this man lasted 2 days on Twitter. He's gotten kicked off of Discord. It's just,
no, hold on. I
stick to Instagram, man.
That's what I do.
That's what I do. Jesus.
That's crazy.
That's what I do.
The question needs to be asked. The question needs to be asked. You kind of dabbled in it, and that might have been the extent of it. And trust me, I enjoyed the accent anyway. But the question needs to be asked: what was behind Up All Night? Like, what was your motivation for it?
It's a bit similar to, I did it before Bandwagon Poos, didn't I? But it was similar in the respect, part of it was a reaction against stuff that was annoying me in the scene at the time.
Really?
And I felt could be done better. there was a bit of a wave of people making like old school hardcore influenced
Okay.
tracks, but they were basically just lifting the key sample and the key riff off a classic, and then just drum and bassifying it. You know, in some cases, just whacking like an amen break under it, and then here's the stab and the riff from a big famous tune, and like da da. And I was like, that's fucking like, apart from the legalities and copyright of it, it's just a bit lame. And I thought, well, why don't I make a modern day drum and bass track that references all the old hardcore stuff, uses the elements that made the sound what it was then, like beeps, high pitched vocals, rave stabs, break beats, but try to put it together in a modern way with more modern techniques and more modern arrangement and things. And it came together really quickly. What made it really smash it was all the prep work I'd done on all the breaks. It was the first track I made with all of those break beats, and it was when I'd got my first Apple Mac and I'd made the jump from using an Atari and samplers on their own to being able to load break beats and samples and stuff into a Mac, and then like destructively edit the audio like with plugins and things to like make the breaks. I could just twist up the breaks in a way that I hadn't been able to before. So I'd spent the week before resampling loads of classic break beats and feeding them through weird effects and stuff. And then I'd map them all out on a keyboard so I could play the breaks with different trigger points of all these different ones. So that was all the prep work that made it easy to then do the next step. And I just was in the studio. I found the nice beeps that it starts with. I'd found an a cappella of vocals, and it just happened really quick. Sometimes in the studio for me, you just know you've got what you need, and you just like, let's fucking smash it out. And luckily this was back in a time before I overthink everything the way I do now, and I just sort of, it just put itself. Sometimes there's this book I read called like The War of Art recently, which was pretty shit, but like one of its key concepts was like, if you're it was supposed to like help you break writer's block, and how to have a good sort of work ethic as a creator and everything. But there was one interesting concept they had that was, when you're a creator and you're writing a book or a movie or a song or something, a lot of people believe that when you're doing something truly really good, it's almost like your body's taken over by a sort of weird divine force. Like If you ask anybody, when you're really in state, really, you'll find this when you're on stage, when you're really in flow and like everything's coming into your head to say, and it's the perfect moment and everything, it's like it's not you, it's sort of something's coming through you. And I get that occasionally. If it's a really banging tune that just feels really good, I almost like don't feel responsible sometimes. It just sort of weirdly, it's like luck or something. It just sort of, and it was kind of like that. It just happened really, really quickly. I mean, it did come about because I was very well prepared. I'd put loads of work in before making these breaks and getting the sounds together. And I guess in the back of my mind, the concept had been coming together. But yeah, it's weird. Like when I make stuff now, it doesn't happen that quickly at all. And I overanalyze stuff and I think too much about it. And then I'm conscious of how long I've already spent on the track. And I'm like, this is a waste of time. They won't appreciate it. And I just need to snap out
I
of
think
that.
that comes with any veteran artist, after a while, and you're always trying to one up your last self, right? It's like every tune you make, it's like, I want it to be better than, not even just better than the last thing, but even the process of when it has that click, that aha moment. You're like, that's what you're chasing. It's just like, you can make really good music, but if you didn't feel that click, it's trash. It's just like,
and also, and like, be worried about damaging your legacy as well. Like
facts.
I'm sure that's in my mind. It's not a defining
It's not
thought
even real.
I have, but it's one of the many fucking voices in my head when I'm trying to make music that limits my activities. Is is this song worth? Well, generally I'm like, is this song worth finishing? Will it add anything to the world? Will it help with anything?
Let's talk
to
about
care
that.
or not to care, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Look,
That's why, because at the beginning you introduced me, like, John B, one of the most prolific producers, and in my head I'm like, I used to be. Like, I made 2 tunes this year, and that comes about like from thinking about the mindset in the early days, and not. I was just completely focused on making the music, doing what I wanted to do, and I didn't really care. I wasn't considering other people.
Right.
Like, I was more egocentric, like strong ego, thinking about yourself and your mission and what you're doing, not caring about what anyone thinks, and just going with it. And I still like just go with it, and I don't give a fuck. But I consider so many more things nowadays, and that really does affect my approach to music making. And it
Yeah.
shouldn't,
I
but it
think we.
does. I acknowledge it though, but.
I
Yeah,
think most artists, after like a good couple years, start wondering more about not trying to sound like the old you and how much of the old you you take into the future,
Yeah,
and does it make sense? And it's that's I think for me that's the balance that's really tricky of it all because you don't want to keep doing the same thing even if it worked
yeah,
100 times you will get bored of it, you know what I mean?
yeah,
you feel
And
like you're not
then
progressing.
yeah, you'll feel like you're progressing, but if it ain't broke sometimes, but it's nature for an artist to jump out of the box, you know what I mean? You always want to get out of there and do something totally off what you were doing and catch people off guard to just I guess for our sanity, I guess, in sorts, our artistic sanity.
hmm
Um, so I it's a question that always rumbles in my head all the time as well,
yeah.
is how do I stay in but not so far out, and then
And to
how do I
not
stay out?
sabotage yourself
Right, all that
by
stuff.
trying just to satisfy yourself. Like, at some point, you have to decide: am I just going to knuckle down and churn out what's expected of me now I'm in this position, or do I hope that people stick with me while I experiment and and as a DJ and performer, and for you guys as well, like when people have come to see you in the club, they are expecting you and what they know of you and how
Absolutely.
you sound and what you do. And if you suddenly switch it up, they're like, "Oh, that's not what I came here for. He's
Yeah,
fallen off." You got to sort of. That's why I'm fucking lucky when I did my electro-y stuff. Most people seem to stay with me.
right.
It could have gone the other way very fucking easily. Um,
Woo.
It's very sad when it happens too. I've watched dubstep guys do it too, and it's sad for them, in my opinion, because one, they're fairly new to the scene as a whole. So when you see them step out of that box and create something beautiful, I'm not going to name any specific names to round them. I will. Screw it. Getter, for instance, however you feel about his music, he stepped aside to make something completely different, and his fan base tore him to shreds to the point where
mm.
he had to cancel his tour. And it was just like, damn, like that's
Wow.
Yes, I
how
remember
quick
seeing that.
it's
Yeah,
how quickly they can just turn on you because you
yeah,
didn't do the
that was
thing they
harsh.
expected
Yeah,
you to do. Like, yeah, every artist, whether you like Getter's music or not, every artist felt that. It
yeah,
was just like,
and it's
damn,
like the
that
opposite of
sucks.
selling out. It's
Yeah,
completely the opposite of selling out and getting crushed for it. It's like mad. Like, crush people for selling out and like going and chasing the money and doing something cheesy. But
right.
if they go and try and do something interesting, exciting, and challenging, at least support them a bit, as long as they
And
make
it was
people
good. That was the
happy.
worst part about it. It was like, yo, like, and the music was dope. So it was like the
Yeah,
antithesis of just churning out the same thing. He could have easily just made another whatever and toured on it and everything would have been fine. But he was like, yo, let me tap into my experimental side, my artistic side. And he went to play
mm,
it out. And they were like, what is this bullshit? And you're like,
yeah.
what?
I
You
guess
know?
that must just say a lot about his fans or the fans of the genre he was operating
I
in
think
and
it's
their
society as a
mindset and
whole,
how. Yeah, yeah.
honestly.
I was reminded last night that today's fans are pretty impatient people. The tolerance levels are really short, and that's something that I'm now rebelling against because I feel like it shouldn't be short anymore. I just listened to a
Mm,
long ass album. I've been talking about it for the last 2 weeks of Blue and Exile, and
I listened to it actually.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's long, but it's
yeah, it
long
is.
with a purpose. It
Mhm.
it has it takes you through distant journeys. It's explaining a part of personal. He's also all philosophical, and then it just has a moment of Miles going on in there. And I say, how else can you listen to this album? I'm not going to sectionize each piece. You have to listen to the whole thing, be it 90 minutes long. You know what I mean? And 90 minutes long shouldn't feel brand new to people in music. You know what I mean?
That is a product of snack culture. We've kind of like put ourselves as a whole, as a society, into this position of everything needs to be fast, immediate, quick, in portions. We're releasing singles every 5 seconds. Nobody's putting together full albums. It's coming back around, which is a beautiful thing. But, you know, that's it. It was almost, I consider that rat race no different than the fact that people have to work 2 jobs to support their kids. And you know what I mean? Like the whole way society is just turned into this nonstop, don't stop and smell the roses situation. I feel it all goes into the same bag. So it's really
But
difficult. I am
at
glad
what
it's coming
point,
back.
though,
Go
at
ahead.
what point do you think, I mean, knowing what we know about the way audiences are, how fickle they are, and how, I don't want to call it, I don't want to say disloyal, because I don't feel
No,
like a fan should have loyalty, but
I also don't
knowing
think
how
they're
easily
disloyal,
an
but
audience,
continue.
well, knowing how an audience can turn quickly, how much do you think an artist can prevent a lot of that ahead of time? I mean, if you look at there are certain artists who have grown and evolved and changed, and their audiences have generally either come with them or accepted this particular output as, I mean, if you look at, okay, like let's say like an artist like Beck. Beck has maintained um, a variety of sounds throughout his repertoire. I'm not a big Beck fan, but if you look at like what Beck's known for, which is that sort of like folky, gritty kind of lo-fi, sample-based, you know, white boy kind of hip hop that's like, you know, almost hippie-ish. But he's also got like stuff that's completely outside those boxes, and his audience is there for it. And I don't know if it's because he puts those things out on different, on different labels. So basically, like what amounts to like different platforms. If you look at DRS, like DRS has done pretty much exactly what he wants to do at all times, generally. At what point does an artist have to take responsibility for his own audiences or her own audiences kind of turning their back on them? Like, is there stuff that they can do to mitigate it ahead of time? Like, how does one navigate those waters?
I'll let John. John, you're gonna say something? Go ahead. Yeah, I
Oh,
think I have.
I don't know. I don't have any answer to that. Like, I did literally in the last week or so, I've got more interested in really studying like the digital analytics and metrics and stuff on all my platforms, and like keeping an eye on the numbers and seeing what's growing and what isn't, and trying to understand that and like try to, you know, see where jumps in numbers are going up, see what activity caused that to happen, and then also just trying to get more on top of using all that data and tracking and stuff to target people and things. Like, I don't do much of that now at all, but I'm going to dabble in it, as one of my friends is a really, really talented web internet guy and uses this thing called HubSpot that is just the crazy like funneling, you know, all the cookie tracking and all that stuff. So that's the modern way of doing your best to keep people engaged by pinging them and everything. But my only solution is, I mean, all you can do is be yourself, try to make good music, try to perform well, try to be nice to people, don't be a twat.
Oh Lord.
Try to be approachable, like try to, you know, maintain good communities online on whatever platforms there are at the time, and just that's all you can do, isn't it, really? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
just try and do everything as much as best you can. And like when you're a one-man band, it's a lot of struggle and a lot of time. The alternative when you're bigger is you just have a team that does it and does a weird fake version of it that works even better, and then you're more free to make music and go and drive race cars or whatever you do when you're a rich producer or something. But like, it's basically that, either do it or genuinely organically, or have an expensive team that do it on your behalf to make it look like it's you. Oh my God, I love my fans. Okay, thanks for joining up to the team. You know,
Right.
think of a name for your fans, like
Machine.
Little Monsters, like Go Lady Gaga, and you know, all the sort of successful musicians all seem to have a little tagline they use for their fans, and
A
like,
hive.
it's nice, but it's also, when you see it now, it just seems cynical because it's sort of best practice for being a pop star. You know, tick this, do this, do this, do this, and do this. Like,
Lord,
it's sort of a modeling successful behavior that people have just done through genuineness in the past. But
I think a lot of it too is kind of just this revolving door of what we've been having in this conversation, because I believe artists like Beck, who have been around for a while, back in the day when artists did that, you can talk about Outkast and numerous artists who have completely switched over the years. Back then, you had the time to educate your fan base as well. You could take a bit of
yeah,
time off and then leak some things here and ease into the situation. You can't do that anymore.
people are a
It's
lot less
harder to
tolerant
do.
now, aren't
Right, you know,
they?
so
Or that's the way it feels to us anyway. That
right.
it may not be true, but
It might
I
not.
think just coming from like the iPod, the ability to quickly switch and shuffle between all tracks, that started the trickle effect of
which
like,
doesn't exist
Correct.
right now, almost,
Well,
right?
Well, no, but
yeah,
it does in the
yeah,
sense of Spotify is just basically, it's
Right.
all the same thing. It's
It's
just
all the
the
same
fact that
thing,
you can skip
though.
through
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. And that's
yeah.
became an issue too, is that no one, again, no one created albums anymore. Everything was a single. Like there were just a bunch of singles on a tune. Like that's why I loved Kendrick so much, because when I finally sat down and listened to Good Kid, Mad City from beginning to end, it was a movie.
Woo!
You know what I
That's
mean?
a
Like
classic.
it was
That's
just
something special. Yeah, yeah.
so like the new Denzel Curry, or I'm naming a bunch of hip hop stuff right now, obviously, but
I need you
that's
to. Can you make me a nice playlist, or just give me a list of
absolutely.
some
Oh,
albums to
hell.
recommend? Because
Well,
I don't really listen to much modern hip hop or anything. I don't know. I mean, I know all those names you're mentioning, but I haven't really. I'd like to just sit down and like listen to the Kendrick Lamar album and fucking take it in and see what's going on. And
Yeah, Kendrick's
I
got
don't
a
want to
couple of
waste my time
bangers.
and listen to the wrong ones, if you know what I mean.
yeah, no, for
Right,
sure.
right,
Yeah,
right.
there's we've mentioned this a lot too, and I believe this is music as a whole. I've had this conversation with behind many closed doors and out in the open as well. I believe, um, even pre-COVID, that substance is really coming back to music in a way that I don't think a
Yeah,
lot of people expected, and especially in hip hop. And now that one thing COVID did do to music is it made everyone sit down and like really listen. There are a lot of artists who I've seen out there who, I'm not going to name any names because of this comment, but they make a lot of microwave shit. And ever since they've had to sit down and like, we're like, okay, well, I'm not making this for this anymore. Let me really tap into my musical side.
It's
It's
gotten
like,
really quiet. Yeah.
sweet.
yeah.
Yeah. You know, like,
It's a natural reaction to sort of the feeling of saturation. And when you feel like there's so much music out there that is meaningless and is churned out, the people that really care, like creators and artists, that it really means something to them, are going to make more of an effort. I mean, you always would, but like you're more conscious that what you do has got to change things somehow and like stand out. Like if in a world of like, when I go through one of the things when I'm streaming, going through promos every week, is just to give people an idea of how many bloody tunes are just churned out all the fucking time. And
right.
like they're all good. They're all good, but a lot of them sound the same. And like that's another reason why I'm not as prolific as I used to be, because I'm like, well, as soon as something starts sounding a bit like all of that, I'm like, well, why am I bothering? Like it's just contributing to this avalanche of
Mm.
sort of homogenous normality. And so that's why it's good that people really do notice if something is really, really good and it does stand out. So there's always, I feel positive now that there's a lot of space for that if you manage to nail it.
Right.
So where, some people will be like, oh, it's terrible, streaming doesn't pay you anything, and there's all the music, there's all this crap out there and I'm drowning in it and all that. Well, like, again, it's sort of, there are elements of everything that kind of sucks, but you can look at it from another angle and there's positives to take from it. And I do, despite being a completely negative, grumpy old bastard, I try to find positive things and stuff like that.
It's funny that I've been going through this whole pre-Genesis, like pre-album Genesis, like trying to like crack this mythical code for like how you get listeners to stick with an album, to listen to it all the way through, because that's the tough nut to crack, right? If you look at even like something like casual, like SoundCloud numbers, if you put up a whole like an album release or a compilation release, you'll see that the listens go down as you go down the list.
Oh wow, I bet. Yeah.
And looking at my own Spotify numbers, like the remix album I did, like the listens went down. They like just dropped as you went down the list. And I was like,
Right.
how do you do this? Like what albums are out there that people have been listened to front to back? And I've said this a bunch of times, I think, on here already, but like that Shy FX album that he put out last year, and I was thinking about it, and it's not just the length of the tunes, but it's also the variety of music. It's not all purely drum and bass and jungle. It's mixed up, and it feels a little bit like, I guess maybe a little bit like listening to a mixtape or a radio show or whatever. And it's funny because I remember when I interviewed Dynamite, and I asked him, after the success of Ronnie Size and Represent and New Forms and stuff like that, like you had Railing on there, you did the vocal version of Brown Paper Bag, why didn't you come out with a drum and bass album? And he was just like, I was just kind of feeling what I was feeling. And it's funny because like now, years later, I'm finally understanding where he's like, what he was thinking, what he was feeling, where he was coming from. Like, I don't want to do something that's just all drum and bass if I'm doing something long form, you know what I mean? Like now I feel what he's feeling years later. And it's funny because like for the longest time I couldn't understand. I was like, why wouldn't he do that? Why wouldn't he do that? And then of course now I'm sitting there in a similar mindset going, why would I do that?
There was a time, I want to say, that a plethora of artists in the drum and bass scene were pretty much on some like, all right, I did this for the 100th time, it's time for me to do something else. Yeah. And they all just kind of danced outside and did other styles of music, and it's almost like it's like a reset button for some. You know what I mean? As far as fans are concerned, people will be people, and you have to like understand that 100% every time. Like you can only hold on to a person, I guess, and if you're thinking about a longevity fan, for so long, as long as they want. So enjoy yourself. And this is my philosophy. This is not no fact or anything.
Yeah, sure.
It's, for me, the greatest artists are literally guys who go out the box and all of a sudden come back in.
Right.
You know what I mean? They, and because I guess for me, what I got out of that is you won't be able to please everybody because these people are going to go, you're not like him, right? And then this dude comes out of left field and then they say, oh, now you're not like him. So why give a care about what the standards are supposed to be?
That part is the not caring about whatever.
Right.
Like you got to be you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess John, you can. I have opinions on this, but you're always someone who, couldn't care less about what anyone else was thinking. You just did what you were supposed to do, So I don't do things I've never been the person who stuck to one thing, not because I needed a reset button. I didn't become, not that I'm anything, I'm hesitating and talk because I don't want to sound like I'm not the MC Armani Rain. I didn't become who I was because like I dove into one thing. I was a hip hop battle kid who didn't listen to anything but hip hop for the longest time until I stepped into an electronic rave scene where I was at house parties that were playing house music. I was rapping over that and the two-step, and then I stepped into the drum and bass room, and then I unlocked the matrix and found out the ways of the world, and then I started listening to other music, and then it was like at that point it was like I feel like a lot of artists, Craze used to call it musical ADD. It's just like, it's not that I need a reset button. It's that I want to make everything. It's like, I want to be able to, I want to put as many Shang Tsung personalities inside of this body. I want to be able to flip the house music at any point in time because I love the process. I love the science of the sounds. I love the theory of it all. You know what I mean? Like being able to write music to whatever time signature I can find. Like those things fascinate me. So it wasn't that I don't want to make a drum and bass album. I don't know. I want to make an everything album. It was just like, you know what I mean? So it's different in my opinion.
When it comes to albums, that's the best opportunity you have to make a broad range of stuff. Because if you just came out with a random single that was a style that you weren't known for, then people would be like, huh? But yeah, albums are the best. I need to do a new bloody album, then I could make loads of weird stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a whiteboard up there with all the
I was going to say, so when are we getting that? What's the date on that, John?
Yeah. I do feel a lot more freer to make music now. Like, I was just so weird about COVID and everything, and like trying to get my head around how to adapt and trying to work out like the first few months. Well, I mean, it's only been a few months anyway, but my time's just been taken up with learning about streaming, getting on top of it, and trying to do a good job with all of that and do it properly, and also trying to earn some money. Like, I did like a bunch of sort of cash grab activities that I can only do once, really, like remastering albums and re-releasing them on USB as a limited edition thing, making more hot sauce than I would normally, things like that. And that's all non-music making activities, but it took up a fuckload of time. So a lot of people are like, oh, why haven't you made loads of tunes during like lockdown? It's because I've been trying to survive to make some money that I would have made from gigs.
Absolutely. Jeez.
So it's sort of weird. It's going to be interesting. I haven't really talked to that many other producers and see how they're doing with stuff.
I was going to say, I think that's a false narrative that's been pushed, that because we've been locked down that you've been doing nothing but sitting in the studio making 700 tunes. I was like, that's not real. You know what I mean? Like, we actually made it a point when this thing started to make sure that people don't feel that way, because, you know, just because we're locked down.
Your mic's gone a bit quieter. Has it gone quieter?
There you go.
Check. How's that?
Yeah, good.
I feel like that's a false thing to grab, to say that because you've been in lockdown that you've been doing nothing but sitting around and making 500 tunes. I think we made it even a point when lockdown started to say to the people, like, move at your own pace. Like, this is a real situation that everybody's going through.
Everybody's got different life.
Like, if you didn't come out of this knowing ninjutsu and speaking 7 different languages that you didn't know before, that's okay. Like, come out and survive. Are you alive? Good. Good.
I even if I had unlimited money and all the rest of it, like, I just haven't been in the right mindset to make music. Like, it's worrying. It's weird thinking about what the fuck's going on with the whole world. With all, like, seems to be getting better. I'm hopeful about a vaccine and treatment. You know, deaths seem to be going down. I don't know if that's just because all the old people that were vulnerable have died and there's less of them around to die now, or if it's going to get worse again. But you know, most of my worries are sort of for the world and the society and the economy and in general. And I've tried to just completely ignore my situation, which, you know, I'm not too bad. I'm married, my wife works. So if once I've spent all my savings, I'm not completely fucked and all of that. And luckily I run a label and make dribs and drabs from, you know, Spotify type stuff. But I haven't ever had a #1 or anything. I'm not like DJ Fresh, who will be, you know, people that have really broken out in drum and bass and have got huge tunes that are just constantly like chunking money in. And so I can hang on for a bit, but I've been trying to just blinker that out of my mindset of, I've said mindset a million fucking times today. Just like, you know, the impending doom that feels like it's closing in. Because if club nights can't start up soon, and festivals and things, and even if they do, it's going to be a mad battle to try and get representation and get booked. And, you know, there's going to be a weird reverse arms race of, you know, who'll do it, who's the most desperate, who'll accept the cheapest fee and the cheapest, you know, shittest hotel. And, you know, will you be able to pick a nice flight anymore, or will the promoter be like, you're on the 6 a.m. one on Southwest, do you like it? And that's it, you know. And which is fine. I fucking go on the South, but that's the thing.
No, we can trash Southwest.
I'm already EasyJet.
Yeah,
Lord.
I'm like, I'll go on EasyJet.
Southwest and
Ryanair.
Suck it.
Jesus Christ.
I will call them out. Frontier, Spirit Airlines. That is like,
yeah.
That's
Ryanair, all those guys. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'll pay the baggage fee.
I will walk.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
So yeah,
but not just that too, but I feel like people need to realize, for truly, you know, whatever, for the guys who just churn out shit to churn out shit. But like a lot of artists, man, are, you know, we can't help not be in tune. Look, I'm making music right now. I feel very good about the music I'm making. We're not going to get into that part. But what I say that is, I've just now started to come around and twist what I'm feeling, the weight of the world, into something artistic. And for every artist that is not just trying to figure out how they're going to pay for things, worried about if gigs are going to come back, like there's a lot. Look, it's been 3 years since February. Like it's a lot has happened, and that's a lot on everyone's shoulders. So expecting
Yeah.
everyone to just churn out music like that is asinine. So then that's compounding the issue we were already worried about. Like we don't have gigs, we don't have going on. I need to produce, I need to create. I can't create because there are no gigs. So it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just like on top of each other. So I don't know. Basically, what we're all saying is fans, hey, take it easy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cut everybody some slack. You know what I mean?
Enjoy something new, man. Enjoy. Don't be scared to explore other things that are going on, man. Let's all be open-minded about this is art, right? So let's treat it like art, the art it's supposed to be. Let's not microwave and too, I understand commercialization, but let's not over commercialize a lot of the what things were intended to be. I think that's really it. Don't get me wrong, everybody can be a pop star. But if we're going to say pop star, I'm just going to quote the dead Michael Jackson, who was a guy who, if you listen to his music, he had everything going on in his production, from classical to jazz to blues to rock. I mean, so what's the fight about? Just enjoy yourself.
Amen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just enjoy yourself.
I think that kind of is mirrored by, I don't know, have you seen those two young gentlemen? I think they're like maybe 20, 21, and I think their YouTube handles Twins something or other, but they do reaction videos to music, and they got real famous.
Thing.
Yeah, that Phil Collins one blew up because they did In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, and these are kids. Yeah, and like they have a number of these videos, and I actually went in my little bout of insomnia last night. I went in a rabbit hole dive on some of their videos, and they watch a lot of like the gamut that they watch is like Dolly Parton and Phil Collins and Stevie Wonder, and it's all over the place, and they're just listening to this stuff for the first time. They watched a live Portishead performance.
Do they break it down afterwards and talk about it?
Kinda. I mean, their videos are not long.
It's like first impressions, right? It's like first impression. Yeah.
Like the videos, it's like long enough to watch the video. They pause it maybe a couple times and check it out. They say what they like about it, but they're not long. They're like 7-8 minutes. It's not like those Lost in Vegas guys. I think that's what they're called, who do longer reaction videos. They're older, and
see, the kids know the YouTube algorithm. Videos got to be 10 minutes exactly.
Like, well, yeah, but the Phil Collins one is like it's like 8.5 minutes or 9 minutes, and it's like gotten like 22 million views in the past couple of days. Wow. And honestly, I think a lot of it comes down to, let's be honest, white people love to be validated by black people. So when they see, black people like white artists too, they love that shit.
Who doesn't like Phil Collins?
Well, I'm just saying it's but anyway, it's one of those things where like, and it's also kind of these kids. These guys, I call them kids because I'm like old enough to be their father and then some. Right. And they are discovering this music for the first time. And I'm talking, they're discovering Lauryn Hill and the Fugees for the first time. They're discovering a lot of the stuff for the first time because they're that age.
Terrible parents.
We're like, well, that's what I'm saying.
The thing with Phil Collins is like, a lot of people think there's all this like deep and meaningful stuff in his songs, like really thoughtful, hidden messages and everything, and like especially his album titles and stuff. And sometimes I don't know, I take them at face value.
What are you looking for?
That's a Phil Collins joke. It's a Phil Collins joke.
It took me a second.
But they were like, they with that song in particular, if you listen to a lot of like modern. Yeah, we got it.
Oh boy!
If you listen to like a lot of like modern, I don't want to call it mumble rap. That's such a reductive term, but a lot of like modern.
They call it mumble rap now.
Yeah, like
they call
all right. So if you listen to like a lot of like mumble rap or like stuff that's related and the production values, that particular song has a lot of like sonic similarities to a lot of those songs, including like the vocal treatment. And like they were super impressed that Phil Collins waited 3 minutes to bring the drums in, and when they brought him in, like their faces were like, "Whoa!" Like they were not. It was, and it was a sweet beat too. Like that song has a very like modern hip hop sensibility to it. It was like but it was
Well,
way ahead of its time in that sense.
You got to remember, a lot of the producers are in tune. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Absolutely,
yeah, the
I
ones
understand that.
making these guys sound good. No,
Well, that's it, but that's just it. It's
they're
like
not surprised by Phil Collins at all.
right, but they represent like kind of like the young everyman, I guess you can say, like your
sure.
Joe Average of that age group. And so them discovering this music through their eyes is real interesting to see. And it's like they're literally listening to like Annie Lennox or like the Eurythmics or just like all this like the White Stripes, and it's just they're listening to stuff that's like completely outside their box.
That's that 80s invasion crew right there, though.
Shit, the one kid, the one did like a video just himself, and he's watching Purple Rain. He never heard it. He's like, I've heard of Prince, but I don't really know his music. I'm sorry. Sorry. You know what I mean?
They're very upfront about it.
Absolutely. And that's like that, and that's such a cool thing to like see people discovering music for the first time and realizing that there is, hopefully it'll inspire some people to realize there's a massive universe of music out there that almost all of us have only explored a tiny fraction of it. So it's pretty cool. Don't even. I'm Boomer's kid. It's like, so I don't know if that's worse or better.
Oh Lord! Here we go.
So, John, what do you have? Do you have anything coming up? I probably should have asked this beforehand. So in case the answer is no, you don't feel like you're on the spot.
Well, they're putting out some remixes of Up All Night on Metalhead soon. A Data 3 remix. It was mastered a while ago, but it went on hold because of COVID. So that's probably the next thing coming out, but I still don't know when. I've got a single on Metalheads with Digital. I did 2 tracks that are all finished and signed.
Digital's he's prepping, man.
Yeah, he's been doing some really good stuff, and he's only got to know him in the last few years when we decided to do the track, and spent a lot of time together. He came around to my house, so that's coming out. I don't know when. Then, yeah, I put out a tune. I did a cover of "Don't Stand So Close to Me" by The Police, like as a COVID tune in March. I did a video for it and everything, and it was one of those ones where I put a lot of effort into it. It didn't really feel like anyone cared, and was like, "Oh,
I didn't even know." We will look that up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's so hard to like get the message out with anything, even if it was a big hit, a hit in drum and bass. Like millions of people can just miss out on it. So it's all right. It was just meant to be a COVID sort of vibe. It's a track I'm working on now that's only needs another session or 2 to finish, that I really like and I think could be really big if I nail it. It's going back to the old hardcore kind of sound, lots of old references to rave and things. That's good. And then I've just got a whiteboard up here to my left I've got millions of tracks that if I could just sit in the studio, I'd just rinse them out. Like, I've got so many great ideas. So I'm really just hoping I can get my arse in gear and make some more music now that I feel like I've batted out or put all the fires out that I was worried about at the beginning of lockdown and everything. My streaming setup is all nice and easy now. I've done all the infrastructure, got all the scenes set up, all my various places where I do it in the house.
You're about to say that your studio looks really relaxing right now, bro.
It's nice. I've got nice lights in here. I can change the colours and things. It gets really hot though, and like in the UK, we don't really have air conditioning.
Right? Yeah, most Europe. Yeah.
I've got a window. I'm feeling a bit hot here now. I've got a fan by the window, and I've got one right by all my computers. Yeah, you can see there. Blowing air out of them. Like, I've had to shut the door, so I'm in this little room. So the heat's not so just regular streaming now. Really trying to build up my Twitch stuff. It seems to be growing at a really nice rate, and actually could form quite a part of my career moving forwards if I can keep that going. So I'll be keeping an eye on that.
Hey, I got a question for you. I totally forgot to ask you earlier. Your bootlegs of New Shit and Closer, is that available anywhere digitally, even just sort of, or is it all just YouTube rip? If that's even out there.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, because they're unofficial. So I didn't put them on SoundCloud because I didn't feel it was right. Also I thought people would give me shit about it as well.
So you'll Dropbox it for us to play later, is what you're saying?
I was like, I was about to go, yeah, John, have you heard of
Why-
Old Town
why
Road
did-
remix shit by Zinc?
Dude, bootlegs is like kind of the way of the
I
world
can
right
I can
now. Why
send
do
you I
think
can
people
send you
give
the
a shit?
file if you haven't got it digitally and you want one. I can happily send it to you.
Well, can we play it?
I do like them. I do
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah, send it. We'll play it later. I normally ask for 2 tunes anyway, and we'll play. So there you
It's
go.
funny because I'm not.
They're like really old
I don't.
remix.
That's not the. That's not.
Yeah, no, I remember. I think I wasn't even like a big. I'm not a fan, a Marilyn Manson fan at all. But that remix I loved, and I remember I was married to a DJ for a while. She used to play the Closer remix all the time. That was great. So yeah, I think people would love that. I think you should put that up. You're not charging for it.
You can't see it, but the chat is going crazy.
You see it. Yo, 4 days crazy in a minute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if you're not charging for the bootleg, you can put it up.
Yeah, just send me. I'll send you links in the Facebook chat after this.
so beta
Don't put them up
recordings.
for free download. Don't put them on SoulSeek.
No. We'll put them up and talk all through that shit for sure.
Is
Beta
SoulSeek still a
recordings.
thing?
Yeah, what's that? Soul 6 still around, I believe. Yeah.
It is.
Some version of it for sure. There's a whole bunch of Russian sites that post literally everything.
Yeah.
That's
Oh no,
crazy.
you know what? I'm sorry. I knew SoulSeek was a thing. In my brain, I conflated it with LimeWire. I don't know why I did that. Sorry.
Is LimeWire still?
Were they all based on torrent technology, or did they have some other type of? It was torrenting basically. It was peer-to-peer
I think
distributed.
it was
It
torrenting.
used to be.
Yeah.
There's still torrents going on, but now there's some
But
sites
did
that are just.
SoulSeek use torrent technology, or was it just in?
Oh,
I
I
think
don't
it was
know.
just in app, wasn't it?
I think it
I
was.
can't remember. I don't really know. I think now it's like just it downloads from a particular user.
Yeah.
Chat, what do you
Just type
guys?
in, "That's all I want."
Tell us.
MP3 download Russia. And you got
Yeah,
it.
I think LimeWire might have been sort of torrenty though, wasn't it?
LimeWire was
don't-
peer to peer for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
We got all the good stuff from there.
All right. Well, are we running down to how much minutes we got about?
We're good. I wasn't
I don't
really
even
counting, but we've been on for we've had a good
Quite a
conversation.
while.
Yeah.
We had a great
Yeah.
2
conversation.
hours mark. I might need to get moving.
Yeah. So
Um,
we'll do about an hour more, and then we'll let
I just
you
want to
know.
say that I checked out the site and I love that jungle sweater. I love it. That's all I got to say.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say plug your shirt, man. What's
Yeah,
happening with
plug
that?
that.
Oh. Oh well, I've got loads of merch and stuff. My web store is because my record label's called Beta Recordings.
Right. Beta. I say better. I'm sorry.
We're American.
I say beta.
Beta.
Beta, yeah.
Yeah, looking back on it, I mean, it's obviously because it's John B, and B is the beta is the gamma, the Greek alphabet for B, isn't it? But like, I didn't really realize or think about it at that point. But then
That wasn't
I got really-
intentional.
yeah, no, I got really into
Oh, wow.
pickup, you know, PUA. Did you ever read the
That's
game
awesome.
and PUA stuff?
Yeah.
I really got into that like back in the day, and I was like, oh shit, you know, alpha male, beta male. Oh god, I picked like the fucking wrong thing. But also from a like geeky computer standpoint, beta testing's good. The idea
Right.
that stuff's never finished and is always work in progress. So I don't know, but anyway, so my web store.
I'm with you. I'm the gamer of the group. So it's,
Yeah. Yeah, you've got the open beta. It's an
Yeah.
open beta. So my web store is beta-store.com, and that's where all the merch is for all my stuff. Like, if you
Awesome.
find me on any social anywhere, if anybody's watching this, you'll be able to find links to buy my stuff. And if you can't find the link to buy my stuff,
We'll put the link
maybe
in
it's
the
not
chat.
for you.
We'll put the link in the chat.
We'll put the link in the We got you covered, bro.
Links in the description down below. Please remember
Yeah.
to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, guys. Please hit the notification bell.
Like and
Yeah, that'd be
subscribe. Hit the
Word
notification
from my
bell
sponsor
so
here.
you don't miss
that's-
anything. Leave a chat in the
Spotify,
comments.
Coffee.
We're on our way to 500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're in the
we're on
100.
YouTube. Yes.
It's
We're
the same
haters. We're on the
spiel.
platform now, hating on it.
Totally. Like, we're totally
Yeah,
gonna say
I
all
hate
of that.
myself.
Actually, please go to Roti and Poutine on YouTube right now. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man. Hey, look, it's been a blast. I appreciate
Yeah, thank you so
the
much.
time out. Like,
It's been very nice to catch up and have a chat to you
Yes.
guys.
Absolutely, man. It's
Yes.
been too long to
Yes.
hang.
Thanks for
Period.
thinking of me.
Jay Lee sends her regards as well. Jay Lee, Jessica.
Oh, yes. Send her
Yes.
my best. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
That's
So
good.
Big up.
super thank you, man. It's always good again, we've been having these to just tap into the real side of everybody, and there's very few realer than you. So, you know what I mean. It was good to have you on, and we appreciate you.
Cool.
Thank you very, very much.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Nice
man.
one.
Whoa,
Live
whoa,
long
whoa,
and
whoa, hold
Have
on.
a
prosper.
good time too.
Y'all don't go
All right.
anywhere. Let me take my
Guys,
little
go.
cheesy picture again, guys. Come on.
Oh,
One,
Christ,
Oh,
every
Jesus.
time.
2. Yeah, crazy, man. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, we are
All
here.
right, dude.
No, yeah.
Cool. So I just